The U.S. claims that China's military exercise and crossing of the so-called median line in the Taiwan Strait are overreactions that has escalated the situation and threatened regional peace and stability. How do you look at that?
It is the U.S. that is threatening peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait. Taiwan is a part of China's territory. There is no such thing as a median line in the strait. The Chinese armed forces conduct military exercises in waters off China's Taiwan Island to safeguard sovereignty and territorial integrity of China. Our measures are open and proportionate. They are in line with both domestic law and international law and practices. They are beyond reproach. The U.S. and its allies often come to the adjacent waters of China, flexing muscles and stirring up troubles. They conduct up to 100 military exercises each year. They, instead of someone else, are the ones that overreact and escalate the situation.
The U.S. claims that China's decision to suspend cooperation with the United States in multiple fronts is not punishing the United States, but rather the world. What do you say to that?
The U.S. cannot represent the whole world. China has warned the U.S. well in advance that should Pelosi visit Taiwan, it would cause a crisis and major disruptions to China-U.S. exchange and cooperation. Unfortunately, the U.S. side ignored that and went ahead with the visit. The Taiwan question at the very heart of China's core interests. The United States, while undermining China's core interests, is asking for China's cooperation where they need it. What kind of logic is this? China's decision to cancel or suspend cooperation in some areas does not come without warning. We say what we mean and mean what we say. There is no reason why the U.S. should feel surprised or upset. Let me stress this. As a responsible major country, China will, as always, take an active part in international cooperation on climate change and other matters. We make our own contribution to the tackling of global challenges. What the U.S. should do is to fulfill its international responsibilities and obligations. It should stop making excuses for its own mistakes.
Some in the U.S. are comparing China's military drills this time with Russia's military actions in Ukraine, and they claim that these actions will be denounced by the international community. What is your response?
Such a claim is ill-intentioned. The Taiwan question is entirely China's internal affair. It is different from the Ukraine issue. The U.S. always stokes tensions and provokes troubles. Preliminary numbers show that between the end of the Second World War and 2001, there were 248 armed conflicts in 153 regions across the world, among which 201 were initiated by the U.S. Since 2001, wars and military operations launched by the U.S. have resulted in over 800,000 deaths and tens of millions of displaced from home. After starting so many wars and killing so many civilians to preserve its hegemony, the U.S. is now creating troubles in the Taiwan Strait. How could we possibly allow this to happen?
Finally, the U.S. claims that if China continues to take further countermeasures, the U.S. will be forced to respond, which may lead to a spiral of tension in the situation. What do you think will happen next?
It has been proved time and again that the U.S. is the biggest troublemaker of cross-strait peace and regional stability. If the international community allows the U.S. to do what it wants, the UN Charter will be just a sheet of paper, and the law of jungle will prevail. In the end, it will be the developing countries that suffer. The Chinese people are not to be misled by fallacies or scared by evils, and will never waver in defending our core interests. We want to stress to the US, do not act recklessly and stop going further down on the doomed path. Give up the attempt to use Taiwan to contain China. Play no games, but return to the One China principle and the 3 joint communiques, and do right things and take concrete steps to facilitate the steady development of China-US relations.